guys, welcome back to the Weekly Web Activist. This is your host, Lydia, and this week I'm going to be spilling all of the tea. Yes, all of the tea on youth activism and things that I'm still working on and that I wish so many other youth activists and really just people in general knew. And so this video will have a lot of good information, so make sure that you stick around to the end. Also, before we start, I want to tell you guys about our watch party fundraisers. These are events that the WWA holds to help educate our community, have engaging discussions, and enjoy powerful films that touch on aspects of activism or important causes. We have had 2 watch parties so far, one to watch 13th and another to watch Just Mercy. From these fundraisers, we have raised $100 and donated to 4 organizations, including Take Action Chapel Hill, the NC Community Bail Fund of Durham, Emancipate NC, and the Equal Justice Initiative. Stay tuned for the announcement of our next watch party and invite your friends. Disclaimer, all thoughts are my own, and no, I'm not certified in anything, so if you want to talk about anything, please comment below. So my first point is to do your own research and to avoid confirmation bias. Now you may be wondering how research and confirmation bias is related to puppies, but I'll get to it in a second. So talking about the lesson, on social media or online, it's so common to see people tell other people, go educate yourself, but then not really explain what constitutes as an education and how they should really go about doing that. And so activism and self-learning are interconnected, and self-learning is a big part of activism. Hopefully your activism inspires someone else to do their own, and this includes education. And so if you're always getting spoon-fed information, then you'll never be able to have the diligence to research for yourself and to form your own beliefs and opinions. With that said, a lot of people, especially youth, fall into confirmation bias when they are doing their research or educating themselves. And so the next video is going to explain a little bit about confirmation bias, how everyone has it, but it can explain how to spot it within yourself and how to educate yourself better and to make better decisions. Also puppies. Don't forget the puppies. So confirmation bias is the tendency to look for information that supports rather than rejects one's preconceptions, typically by interpreting evidence to confirm existing beliefs while rejecting or ignoring any conflicting data. And so, for example, if you start out with the idea that puppies are cute, then you may look up why puppies are cute, and when you find this cute GIF and favor it more than a cat GIF, interpret it differently than someone who doesn't have a preference for puppies, and recall it totally different if someone asks you about it, then you just practice the 4 main problems with confirmation bias. And therefore, while you may have been educated, you were educated with a strong confirmation bias that sort of inhibited your real education and seeing the pros and cons of puppies. And so with puppies, this is true, and with any other subject, this is true. And so when engaging in activism, we want to be careful of avoiding this and be careful of what information we're sharing with our followers. So my second point is to stop gatekeeping and meet people where they're at. Gatekeeping is the act of controlling or limiting access to something. And so in activism, this would be controlling the narrative of who's considered a true activist, or who is allowed to participate in protest, or who can be considered, like a change maker, or any of those things. Gatekeeping is really the limiting of activist culture, or the limiting of people and how they go about fighting for change. And it sucks. Don't do it, okay? And a lot of people, you may think that like, oh no, I've never participated in gatekeeping before, like I'm always inclusive, but then you have to think about some of the things that you say, or some things that you do, or some of the people that you listen to. Education is important, yeah, we all know that, except if someone hasn't written a book, or if they haven't went to an Ivy League school, or if they haven't donated thousands of dollars to some organization and they're talking to you, you should still take time to listen to their points if they're working for the same cause that you are. If somebody thinks that the best idea for protesting is to boycott, economic protesting in which they don't buy anything, they don't support capitalist tendencies, and you're like, oh no, that doesn't really have to do with the cause, that's not real activism, like, check yourself. You're trying to gatekeep. Don't do that, you know? However people go about their activism is really just how they want to go about their activism, and you should accept that and try to work with people of different backgrounds and different ideologies, and that way you can all make changes in different ways. And so I have a slide for an article that you guys will see in a minute about why it's important to challenge the power of gatekeepers. Hopefully you guys will go read that. It's a really good source. And so let's go. So my third point is that perfection doesn't exist. Stay adaptable and stay vigilant. And so this point really explains itself, but I think it's a good reminder. So often when you're working on a project or you're working on something important to you, you want it to be perfect. You want it to be the best work that you can possibly do. And that's totally understandable, but at the same time, you have to understand that nothing is flawless. Every startup, every organization, every activist has flaws, and we all have to realize that and work on our own flaws so that we can help other people. And so I would just say stay adaptable in terms of stay adaptable and the causes that you're working for, stay adaptable in the way that you go about your activism every day, and stay vigilant. You know, this is a movement, not a moment, and every movement is a movement, not a moment. No matter if you're working on climate change, if you're working on systemic racism, if you're working on literally any other cause, like, it is a movement. There has been many works, many people, many projects that have contributed to the culture and the sense of accomplishments that we have now in terms of working on causes. And so you're not the first, but you also won't be the last. And so just keeping that in mind when you're working on your projects, to stay within the fight and to stay working on it to the best of your ability and trying different things to find different ways to work on your activism. I think that's really important, and know that within that, flaws will be a part of that, and nothing is perfect. And so that's all I have for this tip. So my fourth tip is to know your skills, be confident and be humble. And so you guys may think like, yeah, Lydia, that's obvious. You know, like, you have to be confident to put yourself out there and start working on change, and that's true, but you also have to be humble. You know, you shouldn't treat your activist life and then your personal life as separate things. If you're good at something, you can always use it for activism. If you're good at art, you can design t-shirts and sell them to raise donations for organizations. If you're good at writing, you can create a blog and talk about causes that need more exposure. Or if you're good at even makeup, really, like, I used makeup brushes for the tip slide, and honestly, if you're good at makeup, whatever skills that you have, I know we're in COVID, but whatever skills that you have, you can always use them and service them for whatever cause that you're working on and whatever activism you want to pursue. And so I would say always remember that and be confident in your skills. You know, you may think like, oh, I'm not good at anything, but in reality, all of your experiences and all of the years that you've lived, they add up to something, and you just have to figure out what that is. And also I'd say be humble, because you have to realize that whatever you're doing is for someone else, you know, and so I wouldn't say be confident in your skills and, oh, like, I'm the best at swimming, I'm the best at teaching or writing or whatever, you know, and use it for yourself, but be humble and say, like, I have these gifts so that I can help other people. I would say that's really important to remember. Hey guys, so my fifth point is that good things take time. And again, you may be like, Lydia, this is obvious, but it's a good reminder. And honestly, this can be applied to any aspect of your life. You know, if you're putting a lot of time, energy, and effort into something, then you'll most likely get a good result. But you have to go through that process of putting all those things in to get that result. And so if you held a fundraiser recently and it didn't go as well as you wanted to, or if you held a protest recently and not as many people showed up, it's not the end of the world. Any change, no matter how little it is still useful. It still helps the causes that you care about, and you should still feel glad that you took the time, energy, and effort, and you put it into that event, no matter what happened. And so I think that it's always good to remember that anything worth fighting for, you know, is a fight. You know, the whole concept of struggle, of fighting, it should be remembered when you're talking about activism, because this stuff isn't easy. The changes that we're trying to make and trying to create in this world, they're not easy things. We're challenging the status quo. We're going against what people originally thought was good for society, you know? And so this is some serious, hard stuff to do, but I'm so glad that you guys are trying to do this and that you're participating in it. And it means a lot to me. It means a lot to your communities, probably. And it's a good thing to do in general. So stay vigilant, stay confident, and remember that anything that you're working towards, it'll probably take some time. So this video got like super long. Really, I was like 10 tips, 10 minutes, let's go. Except we're already at 11 minutes and I've only gotten through 5 tips. But that's good because it's all good information, and if you made it here to the end, like, thank you so much for listening to me. But so what I'm gonna do is, this is part 1 of the video. I'm gonna edit this, put it out this Sunday, and then part 2 will be coming out next week. And so, or maybe earlier in next week, I don't know. I have to see. I'll check my schedule. But anyways, so thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you learned some things, or you're reminded of some things that you already knew. Take these lessons back with you, with whatever you're working with. Whoever you know, really share this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm not pointing to anything. But thank you guys so much for watching again. Hopefully you watch part 2 of this video, and thank you for being a weekly web activist. So bye.